It's day 5. August 5th. 9:16 p.m. We're gonna do a quick wrap up of what I've read so far. I'm currently on track with more short books read than long. I'll phrase it that way. So I've also already strayed from the TBR. The first book I read was The Raven King by Maggie Stiefvater. This was actually the book that I thought I was going to finish on the 31st, but I ended up finishing the last 140 pages or so on the August 1st night. The 1st of August. The very early morning of August 1st, so like 2-3 a.m. August 1st, I think is when I finished up this one. So this is the 4th book in a series, but the gist of the first book is there's a girl named Blue who is from a family of psychics, and they have all told her that if she were to kiss her true love, he would die. And then they're doing this ceremony where basically they're gonna see who dies within that year. And Blue sees a boy named Gansey as one of the people who's going to die within the year. And her family tells her that basically the only way as a non-psychic she would be able to see someone during the ceremony is if they were her true love. And then later on, like a week or two later, she meets Gansey and his friends, and adventures ensue. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. I didn't read Opal. I was pretty done by the time we got there.
Oh my god, is that what I look like when I drink water? I'm an actual animal. I'm never going to drink water in public ever again. Oh my god.
The first one was fine, but as we got farther and farther in the series, I liked it less and less, because it's fine if like the magical system and the mystery is like a little bit nonsensical at the beginning, because it's like it's the beginning, they're figuring things out. Then by the time we got to the 3rd book, I was equally confused, and it made equally no sense. And at that point, I was just frustrated, because by the 3rd book, you know, like I feel like I should understand. I should have an idea, a basic idea of the magic system, and I didn't. And I feel like it just made no sense. You know what I mean? And I feel like it was underdeveloped, and it was missing a lot when it came to the more magical elements of the plot. It kind of felt like she was just doing random things that really without a care for any kind of like rules within the magical system. I just didn't like the way the magical system was set up, if we're going to be generous and assume that there was any planning on the author's part that went into it. But yeah, so that was my main problem with the book, and considering it's a large chunk of the book, it was a pretty large problem. The character relationships were kind of cute, and the ending. These books are pretty fast-paced, regardless of the fact. I think it's because they have short chapters. Next, I read... What did I read next? Oh, I know what I did. Next, I read Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire, another booksandlala book. This one I actually did like. I gave it 3 stars. So, basically, what these books are about is there's one of my favorite tropes. It takes place at kind of a school/therapy recovery center for children who have stumbled upon portals to alternate universes. And then they've lived there for a certain amount of years, and then they come back, and it's kind of, this school is meant to help them readjust to a world in our, you know, magicless universe. I listened to this one on audiobook. I really liked it. I really liked the characters. I liked the idea of the worlds. I did think the idea was really cool. I did think it was a little bit underdeveloped. I didn't quite understand like the classification of the worlds and that kind of thing. I feel like it could have been fleshed out a little bit more. Overall, it was kind of cool. I had some problems with the magic system. I think it was really just a lack of development for me, just across the board, like character-wise and that kind of thing. Which is why I only gave it 3 stars. But overall, super fun. I'm gonna read the next ones. I'm gonna talk about my reading plans after this wrap up for the rest of the week. I'm planning on reading the next ones because it's just a super cool concept, which I didn't realize. And it's cool to see like how the worlds, I almost plays with this things where the worlds like represent the child who went there. And it's fun. It was really cool. The characters were really fun and interesting. I really liked it, actually. I just think it was just missing something for me. You know what I mean? I still think it could have used more development, maybe. I try to do 1 book a day. So, on the 3rd, I actually didn't finish anything. But I just read. On the 4th, I finished 2 books to catch up. I finished off the book I'd been reading since the 1st, which was Going Down in Flames by Chris Cannon. This was a reread. I've read it before. I've read the whole series before and I really liked it, but I was in the mood to reread these books. They're paranormal romance. They're about this girl named Bryn who finds out that she's a dragon and she has to go to dragon boarding school. The problem is she didn't know this before because there's different like races of dragon, and her parents kind of crossed boundaries. So they're from, her mom's a blue dragon and her dad's red dragon, and they're really into their arranged marriages in dragon society, and they went against their arranged marriages and married each other and had Bryn. This is a big no-no. So she is born and she has to go to dragon school. So they send her and everyone hates her because she kind of is the epitome of going against the government and rebellion and that kind of thing. And she has this kind of role of being kind of a martyr or a symbol for the rebellion, like thrust upon her. There's also like a lot of angsty romance in this book, and these books, the further ones too, and I really love it. I just love these books so much. They're a real great time, and she's kind of like trying to like gain the acceptance of the other dragons. I gave it 4 stars because honestly, sometimes the dialogue, it edges on a little bit too much for me. It's a little bit cringy. These books were written a while ago, but Bryn has kind of, have you ever seen the tweet that went viral a while ago where it was like, being a bitch is not a quirky personality trait? That very much applies to our main character, Bryn, and sometimes it's just a little too much. Like, she doesn't respond in a rational way sometimes, and yeah, just every once in a while the dialogue felt unnatural, which is why I took off a star for that mainly. But I just really love these books. They're so fun. Oh, like I said, I just really, really love books that supernatural boarding school books. If it takes place at a supernatural boarding school, I will read it and enjoy it because it takes place at a supernatural boarding school. I think that would be my best possible life, is if I could have gone to supernatural boarding school. So the other book I read on the 4th was Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too. I hate that. by Jomny Sun, as it says on the front cover. I got this from the library, thank God. This, I don't even know how to explain this book. It's like an alien, and he goes to Earth, and he's just talking to a whole bunch of animals, and they share little, like, life lessons. Mostly about, like, the anxiety of existence, if that makes sense, and then, like, they'll, like, have, like, a comforting thing to, like, get over it, you know what I mean? So, I think I said in my Goodreads review, this book is very, like, hit or miss. Each animal within the book kind of represents a different anxiety, if that makes sense. If you don't ever feel nervous about that, it's not really going to be a big thing. But when it does hit one of the things you're anxious about, it can be pretty comforting. Because, like, what it says, and, like, it's almost like philosophy, I guess. So, for example, the egg he doesn't know what he's going to be, and he's nervous. It's, like, not going to be good. He's kind of nervous about what he'll hatch into. So, the moral of the egg story is kind of like you can choose what you want to be now, and you don't have to worry so much about what you will be in the future. You just kind of have to stay in the present. It was cute. Not something I'd ever look back at. I really, really hated the misspellings. I thought it was really dumb, and I didn't understand why it was necessary to do that. Like, just look at the title. Everyone's a alien when you are a alien too. I don't think there's a single capital letter in this entire book, by the way. Except when it's in all caps. I did think this one section was really funny, though. I'll insert a clip. It's just a turtle wearing a camouflage vest. Oh my god. He's like, oh, you're just a turtle wearing a tiny camouflage vest. Oh, it's a turtle wearing a tiny camouflage vest. Oh my god. I think that's my favorite page. But yeah, it's throwing a lot of darts, and when the darts miss, they miss. But when they hit, it's good, you know? It really reminds me of Lin-Manuel Miranda's book, Good Morning, Good Night. It's very similar to that, with kind of like the cutesy, simple line drawings. And then kind of the same theme of like, kind of like Twitter philosophy. I never know how to rate those books. Like, what do you want me to say? They're not really anything special, but I don't think you would go into them expecting them to be. And I don't think that's what I don't think when they wrote them and published them, they expected them to be this big, life-changing novel. You know what I mean? So I never know how to rate them, because I don't know what their purpose is. Next, book 5. Yeah. I read Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and illustrated by Fiona Staples. I really liked it. I don't know if I gave it 3 or 4 stars. Let me check. I want to say 4. I just finished this today, too. I should know. Gave it 3 stars. Apparently I was in a harsh mood. I thought it was fine. I really, really like the art. It's gorgeous. I can see it setting up for something that could be interesting. It took me a little longer than I would have liked to kind of understand the political aspect of this war and who's on which side and that kind of thing. But by the end of the first part, I think I was pretty into it. Now that I've sat with it more, it's probably more of a 3.5. But I like it. I'm interested to read the next one. I think this volume is more or less introducing characters, but I think it's a good start. It just didn't really have enough time to go anywhere. My camera never tells me. There's no indicator of whether it's recording or not, but it times out at 20 minutes and I lose track of time and I talk endlessly. So always have to go back and record the end of my clips again. Anyway, the book I've been reading, I haven't finished it yet, but maybe like the past 2 or 3 days I've been reading it on my Kindle, so I don't have it. But I've been reading The Raven and the Dove by Caitlin Davis. Funnily enough, I actually last night had a dream about Caitlin Davis. A woman, which in my mind apparently is what I imagine Caitlin Davis looked like. Pretty generic blonde woman. She came up to me and we had a long conversation about how she wishes she wrote her books using a pen name. She had like a list of reasons and it was a very detailed conversation. Anyway, the book. There's this big once a generation mating tournament that's about to happen. And there's one perspective of the princess of one court who's going to be married off to another kingdom, and the other perspective is the bastard son of the Queen of Ravens, her husband. Her actual son, the firstborn, the one who's supposed to compete in the tournament, is missing his right hand, so they're going to do a swap-a-roo with his brother, who looks a lot like him, but is technically not supposed to compete, so that they can have a good place within the tournament to get a better bride for their kingdom. Meanwhile, they're a race of bird people. Probably should have mentioned that sooner, but they live in the sky on like these floating islands, and the people that live back on normal Earth but with magic, there's a lot of problems going on down there that are starting to creep up towards their islands. So they're having to deal with that. I really like this book so far. It's very complex. There's something of interest happening every like 20 pages, which is a really great change of pace because I'm reading really a lot of dull, slow-paced magical realism books lately. So it feels weird to read something that's well-paced again. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm excited for some more world building. I feel like the author, Caitlin, is like really purposefully almost withholding the information for now, or there just hasn't been time for it along all the cool action stuff that's been going on, like in all the real plot points, but maybe that's just my opinion. So yeah, it's promising. The beginning I've really liked, and about 100 pages in. So as a final wrap up, I have read 5 books in 5 days so far, and I'm 100 pages into a new one. With graphic novels counted as like 1 page is half a page, if that makes sense. So if I just have the actual page number, I've read 985 pages, which is pretty good, I feel. But for the next week, I have a plan. This is the same attitude that made me do this first challenge, just rearing its head again. I saw a Jesse the Reader video, and it was reading for 24 hours straight. And I was like, oh my god, he's gonna read for literally 24 hours. Like, he's gonna like start a timer and he's just gonna sit there and read for 24 hours. Oh, he didn't. It was just a normal 24-hour readathon. And I was like, how much reading could I do in literally 24 hours? Like, if I read for 24 hours, how much? A lot, right? Like, like, what are my limits as a mortal woman? How much can I do? How much could I do? I'm really heavily considering trying to read for 24 hours over the course of like a day and a half, maybe, because I want to sleep and do other stuff in my life, you know? Yeah, no one's gonna watch this video anyway, so I don't want to make that much of a sacrifice, but I'm just curious. Anyway, that's what's going on up here. See you in 5 days, unless I upload a video of me reading for literally 24 hours. Then see you then.